In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to start practicing the slow etude for this year's region music. Anytime that you're sight reading through music, reading it for the first time, you want to pay really close attention to the key signature, time signature, and the tempo. In this piece, we have two sharps in the key signature, so we are in the key of D major. For altos and baries, that is concert F. For tenors, that is your concert C. Knowing that, being able to play through that concert F or concert C scale, your D scales, is going to be really helpful in preparing for this piece. Okay. Now, what makes this piece really challenging is the combination of the time signature and the tempo. All right. The time signature in this piece is 9/8, which means that there are 9 eighth notes in the measure, and the eighth note gets the beat. So when I'm counting through this, every note is going to get, or every beat is going to get 9 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1. Then I would restart. The first measure is going to get counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1. So the first note's going to get 4 notes, 4 beats, 3 for the dotted quarter note because there are 3 eighth notes in a dotted quarter note, and then 1 for the tied note. So we've got those dotted quarter note tied to an eighth note. That gives us 4 for that. So again, that first measure will get counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1. And that gets us through that first measure. I would highly recommend being able to count through all of your measures and even writing in the counts underneath your music so that you can kind of keep track of where you are. Because if you're not used to playing in a slower 9/8 feel, it can get really tricky trying to figure all this out. So a dotted quarter note, if we're in 4/4 time, normally gets a beat and a half. But since we're in 9/8 time and the eighth note's getting a beat, right now it's going to get 8 or 3 eighth notes. Now eventually we're going to count this faster, so it's only going to get 1 beat. So eventually what we want to do is we want to have the dotted quarter note getting the beat. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The first measure playing through that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1. So that we're eventually going to start feeling that dotted quarter note feel. But at the very beginning, I would feel it a little slower, and I would feel it with that eighth note pulse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1. So I can kind of keep track of where all of my eighth notes are. All right. Measure 5, since we're talking about counting, is going to get counted a little differently. The first 2 beats, or the first 6 beats, however you want to think about it, are going to get counted pretty normal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the next thing, you've got a quarter note, followed by 2 grace notes, and then your 16th notes. Sorry, eighth note followed by 2 16th grace notes, and then your 16th notes. So beats 7, 8, and 9, without the grace notes, I would count 7, 8, and 9, and 1. Again, that's 7, 8, and 9, and 1, with that eighth note getting the beat. Now we have to add in grace notes to this, and there really isn't a set standard way to count grace notes. So what I like to do is I'll apply our 16th note counting, or our normal 16th note counting in a 4/4 one-anda to something like this. So for me, I'm going to be thinking through that eighth note gets half a beat, and then the grace notes are going to take up the other half of that beat. So I would count, if this is my tempo, this is my eighth note pulse, 1 and or 7 and an 8 and 9 and 1 is what that would be. 7 and an 8 and 9 and 1. So that way I've got that same pulse all the way through. So whenever I go to play it, I have that consistent pattern all the way through. And I'm not just kind of guessing on where those grace notes are. I always kind of want to know where I'm going to place the grace notes. And when you play grace notes, they're traditionally done before the beat. So those grace notes are kind of hooked on to beat 8. So I'm going to have to take away from beat 7 to make them fit into the pulse without losing any time. All right, I think that covers all of our counting issues on this. Now the other thing that makes this hard, there's a lot of dynamics through this, and they're really, really, really spelled out really well for us. So when it tells us to get loud, we're going to want to try to overdo kind of that, and it tells us to get soft, go ahead and or overdo that as well, so we get too soft and too loud practicing through this. Now, don't go overboard and don't get to an ugly sound and don't play so soft nobody can hear you, but we want to be able to hear those dynamics. Especially since region's going to be a little different this year, you want to be able to stand out as much as you can. So the judges really need to hear whether or not you're doing dynamics. Now, what technically on the fingers kind of makes this piece really hard are these big leaps. In measure 12, we have these really big leaps from the A, low C sharp. If you don't know how to finger low C sharp, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bottom pinky for the C, and then the C sharp key is the middle outside pinky there for C sharp. Now when I'm going from A to C sharp to G sharp, that pinky doesn't need to move. I can just do A, C sharp, G sharp, A, and then I go back to C sharp, B flat, A, E, G, F sharp. So when I go from low C sharp to G sharp, leave your left pinky where it's at. It doesn't need to try to slide up, because this G sharp key or this C sharp key will already open your G sharp key. And that should be applicable to all saxophones. All makes and models tend to have that now, where you'll have that C sharp key automatically opening up your G sharp key. Cool. The other thing that helps through measure 12 is just making sure that your embouchure doesn't get really tight here, and that you have a really good ooh voicing in the back of your mouth. If you start closing off and getting really nervous here, then it's not going to work. So you're also going to make sure that you have a lot of air. One last thing that makes measure 12 in itself really hard is the fact that at the very end of this, we're doing a decrescendo. So we have to do that E, G, F sharp jump, and we're getting quieter. So again, you want to leave your embouchure really nice and open, and don't try to pinch for that high E. And the only way that's going to work is you have to have a fast thumb and a really open embouchure for that. Okay. I think that basically covers the most part in here. The last thing I want to talk about with playing through this is know where your breath marks are. I have added a breath mark, and you'll notice that in the playing I did at the very beginning. And I can show you all where that is too. The breath mark I've added is at the end of measure 4, in between the F sharp and the G. And I added that one there because there's no written breath mark from measure 1 to measure 8. And I can play from measure 1 to measure 8 in one breath, but it's a struggle and it doesn't sound good at the very end. So I add in an extra one there at measure 4 to help facilitate with that. And that should get us through this whole piece. So when you're practicing through this, practice through this slowly, practice through this with a metronome. I open this by playing through this without a metronome. I want to close it out. We're going to play it with a metronome. This is my quarter note, dotted quarter note equals 60, but I've got the triplets on for this. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1. So even if this is our lyrical piece, 60 is still pretty quick. So let's just try to keep up with that and make sure you're practicing with a metronome. So hopefully that'll help y'all kind of start learning through the beginning of this piece. This is at tempo or at performance tempo. Y'all have until sometime in October to be able to play this. So start slow, okay? Don't go 60 your first time through. Start slow and use a metronome. Good luck.